The strongest people are not loud. They are not reactive. They are not easily disturbed.
You are not angry because of what people do. You are angry because you have given them permission to disturb your inner order. From the very beginning, the Stoics understood a truth most people still resist today. Nothing outside you has the power to control your emotions unless you surrender that power willingly. Every irritation, every surge of anger, every moment of being bothered is not proof of someone else's strength but of a lapse in your own discipline. Today, we begin the work of reclaiming that discipline, not through force but through clarity. Life does not become quieter as you grow stronger. People do not become kinder. Circumstances do not become fair. What must change is your relationship to these things. The Stoic path is not about avoiding discomfort, but about becoming so grounded in self-mastery that chaos loses its authority over you. This is not a promise of emotional numbness. It is a promise of emotional command. When you understand this, anger stops being an explosion and becomes a signal. Being bothered stops being a weakness and becomes a reminder to return to yourself. Most people live reactively. They wake up already behind their emotions, chasing calm instead of cultivating it. The Stoic trains differently. He prepares before the moment arrives. He understands that discipline is not punishment, it is freedom. Freedom from impulsive reactions, freedom from the endless need to be validated, freedom from letting careless words or unfair situations dictate the quality of his inner life. This training begins with awareness, noticing when anger arises, not to suppress it, but to study it. Anger often masquerades as strength, but it is usually fatigue, wounded pride, or fear in disguise. The Stoics taught that emotions follow judgments. Change the judgment, and the emotion dissolves. When someone disrespects you, the disturbance does not come from the act itself, but from the belief that you must not be disrespected. Question that belief. Is it truly within your control how others behave? Or is your real power found in deciding how much importance their behavior deserves? Self-control is not restraint for its own sake. It is alignment with what truly matters. A disciplined mind does not rush to react because it understands the cost of unnecessary emotion. Every outburst drains energy. Every grudge occupies space. Every moment of being bothered steals attention from what you could be building instead. The Stoic learns to guard his attention as carefully as his time because both are finite. Consider how often your peace is disrupted by things that will not matter in a week, a month, or a year. The Stoic habit is to widen the lens. To ask, will this matter in the long arc of my life? If the answer is no, then anger becomes irrational. You are trading your present calm for a future that will not remember the offense. This realization alone weakens the grip of irritation. Discipline begins internally. Before you attempt to control speech, control thought. Before you attempt to control behavior, control judgment. This is not passive acceptance, it is active mastery. When you feel the surge of being bothered, pause. Not to count, not to breathe mechanically, but to remember who you are training to become. The pause is the space where freedom lives. You were not meant to be ruled by every impulse. You were not meant to live in constant reaction to others. You were meant to develop a mind that stands firm regardless of circumstance. This is the first habit, distinguishing what is within your control from what is not, and refusing to emotionally invest in what you cannot command. Once this distinction becomes instinctive, the world loses much of its power over you. People may still act unjustly. Situations may still frustrate. But the inner narrative changes. Instead of "this should not be happening," it becomes "this is happening." What is the most disciplined response? That question alone transforms anger into strategy. The second habit grows naturally from the first. Reducing the ego's demand to be right, respected, and acknowledged. Ego is the most common gateway through which anger enters. When someone challenges you, ignores you, or dismisses you, it is not the event that hurts, it is the ego's expectation of how the world should treat you. The Stoic dissolves this expectation, not out of self-contempt, but out of realism. You are one human among billions, passing briefly through time. This is not a depressing thought, it is liberating. When you release the need to be constantly affirmed, insults lose their sting, disagreements lose their heat. You no longer need to win every exchange because your worth is not on trial. Anger feeds on ego. Starve the ego, and anger weakens. Self-awareness is the quiet observer within you. It notices the tightening of the chest, the rush of thoughts, the urge to react. Instead of obeying, it asks, what belief is fueling this reaction? Often, the belief is something like I must not be treated this way or they should know better. But should is not reality. Reality is what is. The Stoic aligns with reality, not with wishful expectation. This alignment does not mean tolerating abuse or injustice. It means responding deliberately rather than emotionally. There is a difference between firm action and angry reaction. One is rooted in reason, the other in impulse. The Stoic chooses reason every time, not because he is weak, but because he is disciplined. As you cultivate these habits, you begin to notice something subtle but profound. The things that once bothered you start to feel distant, almost irrelevant. Not because you care less about life, but because you care more about your character. And character, once strengthened, becomes a stable center no storm can uproot. The third habit is intentional exposure to discomfort. The Stoics trained themselves to face inconvenience voluntarily so that involuntary discomfort would lose its power. When you deliberately practice patience, restraint, and silence, small provocations lose their novelty. Anger thrives on surprise. Discipline neutralizes surprise. Imagine choosing calm as a default, not as a reaction. Imagine being so familiar with discomfort that it no longer triggers panic or rage. This is not fantasy. It is trained resilience. Each time you resist the urge to react, you reinforce a new identity. Someone who cannot be easily disturbed. Over time, this identity becomes self-sustaining. People may still try to provoke. Life may still test you. But the tests feel different. They feel like reminders of your progress rather than threats to your peace. You stop asking why things happen to you and start asking how you will respond. That shift marks the difference between a reactive life and a Stoic one. The fourth habit is reframing adversity as training. Every difficult person becomes a teacher. Every irritation becomes an exercise. This does not romanticize hardship, it repurposes it. The Stoic does not seek out conflict, but when it arrives, he uses it. Anger becomes a signal pointing to an attachment that needs loosening. Ask yourself, what expectation did this situation violate? What attachment did it reveal? Often, anger exposes where you are still dependent on external validation or control. Instead of condemning yourself for feeling it, study it. Emotional discipline is built through observation, not suppression. The fifth habit is remembering impermanence. Everything passes: insults, frustrations, even the people who provoke you. When you hold this truth close, anger feels wasteful. Why sacrifice your limited energy to something that will soon dissolve into memory? The Stoic anchors himself in what endures: virtue, integrity, reason. Finally, the sixth habit is daily reflection. Not obsessive self-criticism, but honest review. Where did you react impulsively? Where did you hold your ground? Reflection turns experience into wisdom. Without it, even discipline stagnates. With it, every day becomes refinement. When these habits converge, something remarkable happens. You are no longer easily angered. Not because the world has softened, but because you have hardened where it matters and softened where it counts. You become calm without being passive, firm without being hostile. A person who moves through chaos untouched. This is not emotional suppression. It is emotional mastery. And mastery once earned is quiet. It does not announce itself. It simply exists, steady and unshaken. When others react, you respond. When others panic, you observe. When others are consumed by anger, you remain free. That freedom is the reward of discipline. and it is available to anyone willing to train.